This is the 2020 Mazda CX-30, which slots between the CX-3 and the CX-5. Why is it not called the CX-4? Because there's already a CX-4. It's made for the Asian market, and it does quite well there. So Mazda didn't want to confuse Google and the rest of the world by having a CX-4 here and a CX-4 there that were two different things. So we have the CX-30, which is basically a jacked up a little higher ride height Mazda 3 hatchback. Mazda has a really clear design language. The CX-30 is the second vehicle in their lineup. The 3 was the first to use what they call Kodo, K-O-D-O, Kodo design language. And it's meant to have like this sort of in motion while sitting still appearance to it. The back end on the CX-30 slopes down to give this particular vehicle, at least according to Mazda's press materials, a coupe-like appearance. So the question is headroom. What happens to headroom in the back seat? Well, let's talk about those back seats for a minute. I'm 6'2", family is 6-footers, and we can't fit in here. If I have this front seat where I need it, then whoever's sitting behind me is screwed. Mazda did do some interesting things, though, for the back seat. There's a big cutout in the roof so that there's a little extra headroom, and the floor is slanted a little bit to give you a little more foot room. So can people of my height fit back there? Yes, you can. Do you want to drive across the country that way? No, you do not. But the back end actually has quite a bit of room for something this size. Mazda calls us a CUV, a crossover utility vehicle. It's a tall car. Inside, let's talk about inside this vehicle. It is a really nice place to be. It's simple, it's elegant. The fit and finish is amazing. This is so nice to touch. This is a soft surface. This is leather, and it's contrasting colors. This is a dark brown with black. That's not an option, that's standard. We're going to take a little bit of a more fun road here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in sport mode. If you could hear it downshift, but it downshifted right away. There are paddles on the premium. It's a regular Torquematic. It's not a CVT or anything like that. Every CX-30 is powered by a 2.5 liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with Skyactiv technology. In the premium trim, however, they add in cylinder deactivation. So if you're just cruising along on the highway, it'll deactivate 2 out of those 4 cylinders, and you're driving a 2-cylinder car. Over the last 4 or 5 days of this vehicle, I have not noticed it once. Sport mode doesn't really change the suspension or things like that. What it does do is beefs up throttle response and the shifting, which I'm doing manually right now anyway. But it's quicker shifts, holds revs longer if you're in automatic. It doesn't really need to do anything more than that. And I'll say, one thing Mazda does incredibly well is ride. This vehicle, for being a tall thing, center of gravity is sort of teeter-tottering up there on the top. If you do drive it athletically, it responds. It's not a sports car, don't get me wrong. There's not enough power for that. But it handles really well. This vehicle, the Mazda 3 as well, the CX-5, the 6, they're all really good examples of what you can do with just a really well dialed in suspension. So kudos to Mazda for that. That's one thing they do really well. It's 186 horsepower and an equal 186 pound-feet of torque. Is it enough? I always like a little more power than a little less power. And Mazda claims that that output is actually best in class. So that's foot to the floor. It's quick, but it's not fast, if that makes sense. You can get the CX-30 in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and that's from the standard model all the way up. The all-wheel drive isn't meant to go off-roading. This isn't to, take it and beat down trails. The all-wheel drive is really meant for safety and security in all weather conditions. And there's an electromagnetic clutch between the front and the rear that's managed by literally a video game derived algorithm that looks at everything going on around the car. what's the temperature? Are you using your windshield wipers? As well as sort of reading the way you're driving to sort of predetermine where to send torque. But what's interesting is over by my left knee here, there's a little button. So if you are going to go off-road, you'll push that button and it will deactivate that video game algorithm to make it so that traction control is basically off. We're not going to go out off-roading, but there are a bunch of videos that are out there with people who have actually done weird things with this vehicle. They don't use a touch screen like so many people are going to. Their engineers feel that if you put a touch screen here close enough, then you have to take your eyes away from where they should be on the road, and I agree with that. So they have this big knob here with a little knob next to it, and then it's easily navigable with this favorites button. So things like programming in your favorite radio stations, you would probably do the first few days of ownership. Maybe you do it at the dealership when you take delivery, and then you're done. You don't do that again, right? So then you can just switch your favorites. Now, favorites isn't just radio stations. It can also be phone numbers or destinations in the nav system. So there is a lot of logic behind it, and in a lot of instances, I would actually agree with what Mazda doing. So thumbs up from me on that one. There are such safety features as lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, cross traffic alerts in the back. There's emergency braking. There's so much packed into this vehicle, especially when you start looking at price and value. So the CX-30 starts just over $21,000. You heard me right. $21,000. That's the standard model front-wheel drive. The premium starts just under $30,000. There's quite a bit of value. All in all, this is a really nice package that if you're in the market for a new vehicle within that price range, the CX-30 is definitely worth a look.